Hi, friends. Welcome to the Nomadic Spaces podcast. I am your host, Sarah Bronstein from Suka Interior Design. This is where we talk all things interior design, nomadic spaces, and happy homes. You'll learn interior design strategies to successfully transform your home into a beautiful and functional space that supports your unique lifestyle. If you are enjoying this show, please help us by taking a sec to subscribe, rate, share, or leave a review. Thank you for your support and for listening. Now, let's get into today's show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Nomadic Spaces podcast. In today's episode, which is called Expert Interior Design Hacks to Easily Update Your Tiny House on Wheels, we're going to focus on interior design tips specifically for what I like to call the real mobile homes, meaning homes that are actually moving. And some types of these road homes include what's known as THOWs, which stands for Tiny House on Wheels, THOW, RVs, vans, travel trailers, skoolies, buses, utility trailers, and more. The advice in this episode will work in all spaces, but there are a lot of really special considerations for mobile homes, which we'll talk about today. There are many types of tiny homes that are stationary. Just want to note that. But today we're going to focus on ones that are designed to be on the road. As I mentioned, these spaces require a lot of specialized thought and attention because they are facing not only our small space challenges, but they also need to be prepared to withstand essentially a Category 7 earthquake, which is comparatively what happens every time you hit the road. And before we get into it, understanding things like the frequency and distance you'll be moving will be really helpful in determining the best design for your space. First up is address storage needs. This includes evaluating the amount and type of belongings so you can plan accordingly. Proper storage and organization will allow for minimal visual clutter and make living and cleaning in the tiny space easier. One tip is to utilize vertical wall space. So think of shelving, racks, hooks. Example, coffee mugs can hang from hooks underneath of a shelf. Get creative with your walls and ceilings. An example of this is I saw a skoolie renovation that had a wood beam running through it, which you would think is more for aesthetic appeal, but they had actually hollowed out the beam and had a couple of little flaps, if you will, where you could stick small things in there so it was additional storage all through the ceiling space. In terms of design, open shelving will make the space feel more expansive, but closed storage cabinets will make more sense if you plan to be mobile more frequently. In either case, you'll want to make sure you add a lip to your shelves, which will keep things from coming off during travel. Multifunctional furniture is a worthwhile investment. Multifunctional furniture is furniture that can be used for multiple purposes, which can really help save space, and also have items that are built in so they don't move around when you're on the road. An example, I built out a custom sofa that I designed that has big storage drawers underneath and also a flap that will convert it to a bed an additional bed space when needed. Number 2 is secure for takeoff. You'll want to have a plan where you can strap down any furniture or loose packed boxes while you're on the road. Command strips are really great for things like wall decor, as well as decorative item on shelving. Although I will say I recommend packing anything that is precious or fragile. For myself, I do pack up a fair amount of things, knowing that I only move every few months. It's worth it to me. And again, if you're someone that's going to be moving around more like daily or weekly, you probably want to plan where you don't have to do as much packing, because it is a lot of work to pack up and move. So you want to minimize the amount that you're doing that, and putting thought into how you're designing your storage in the first place can really help. Number 3, keep it light. We've talked before how natural light will help a small space feel bigger and brighter, but today I'm actually referring to light as in weight. It is super important to know how much your rig weighs so that you're towing safely and don't have accidents once you're on the road. Contrary to popular belief, that doesn't mean you can't install weightier materials, for example, real tile, which I used in my bathroom and kitchen backsplash without issue. But you do need to be aware of how heavy things are coming in, as well as the weight distribution, which is going to be considering how the weight in the trailer is distributed. And this is especially important in travel trailers, tiny houses, and abodes that you tow behind. Vans and skoolies, where it's one unit with the engine, isn't as crucial, but definitely still want to consider it in all cases. Generally speaking, especially for travel trailers and again, tow behinds, the majority of weight should be placed in the front of the trailer. Additionally, try to keep the weight on each side somewhat equal, with the least weight in the back. Number 4, design for usage and goals. This is going to vary depending on the person and the type of mobile home, but some considerations that are important are hookups versus boondocking. Boondocking is essentially off-grid, where you don't need electric or septic or water hookups. So if you plan to be staying at campgrounds and RV parks with hookups available, that's good to know. I fall in that category. While some folks prefer being able to off-grid in remote areas, in which case you'll want to consider things like solar panels, composting toilet, propane fridge, and stovetops versus electric. You'll also just want to consider light fixtures, 12 volt versus 120 volt. And another note here is your goals for the future. So an example is myself, I don't plan on boondocking a whole lot. I plan to be staying in places with hookups available. However, I do eventually foresee reselling. So I have kept a lot of propane access for heat, as well as stove and oven, so that someone who's buying it in the future would have both capabilities. Number 5 is opt for high-quality materials and fixtures. Even brand new motorhomes and travel trailers often feel dated and impersonal, especially because they use cheaper materials like vinyl and plastic. Real wood, tile, and high-end fixtures will make the space feel more homey, elevated, luxurious, and it should last longer. Quick caveat to consider: quality materials might be weightier, so make sure you're keeping an eye on how heavy and what weights are going in and out, and again, where they are in the trailer. Number 6 is invest in professional help. These types of projects really need to be implemented properly, or you could have easily a very expensive disaster on your hands. And this isn't to say you have to hire out the whole project, but definitely consider hiring help for the parts you aren't savvy in. The best way to throw money down the toilet in design projects is by cutting corners in the wrong places and starting a project without a plan. Myself, for example, I did hire professional help to change out light fixtures, replace a water heater, and plumbing. So basically anything regarding the electrical and plumbing systems, I did hire a professional to help me with. I took on other parts of the project that I felt I could handle, but again, you want to really think through where's your area of expertise, where are you handy, and what's going to be most cost effective. Because not only can doing something DIY and making mistakes be costly, especially in RVs and trailers and mobile homes, those mistakes can be potentially very dangerous. Things like electrical fires, propane leaks, flooding, all that kind of stuff. So to wrap up, tiny houses on wheels and other mobile homes are extremely unique in nature and require a lot of special considerations when it comes to designing. As an experienced designer and someone living in a mobile tiny house on wheels, I'm well versed in solving these challenges. The Design Project Jumpstart is a virtual consultation that takes us through the first step and a half of the design process together, which will set you up for success whether we work together in a larger project capacity or you take on the implementation of the project yourself or with a local builder. If you are ready to invest in your space, you can book a Design Project Jumpstart using the link in the show notes. If you're not quite ready to pull the trigger, there is a complimentary connection call button. I would love to chat and hear where you're at, even if you're not ready to move forward. I hope that you found this interesting and helpful. And I also just wanted to call out a couple of free resources that will also be available in the show notes. One is the Desk Refresh, which is 5 easy steps to refreshing your desk space. These very same steps are what I use with my clients to go through other spaces. So if you are looking for home updates and feeling overwhelmed, this can be a really good place to start before you tackle larger spaces. The other is a Shop My Trailer list where I have linked all the products used in my trailer renovation. So if you are working on a tiny house, RV, travel trailer, mobile home renovation, you might find this useful. And again, you can download both of those resources completely free in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to connecting with you next week. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a sec to subscribe, rate, share, or leave a review, that would mean the world.